how does the masculine express itself in the woman and in the men she attracts? In this video, I will talk more about the animus, the masculine, in women and the 4 levels. I have come up with my own revised version based on this Jungian concept. Knowing this will really make more clear how the men in your life reflect your inner masculinity and what you will need to do to level up both personally and in your dating life. So keep watching. The first level is what I call demon. By the way, this goes beyond Jungian type. These levels can be seen in romantic fiction for women. When I think of demon, the first thing that pops into my head is Nosferatu. In that movie, which I've talked more about in my Vampiric Instincts video, the SXSP instincts, check that out if you're more curious about that. Essentially, Nosferatu is the demon animus. The demon animus in a woman is basically the destructive side, the uncontrolled, wild, the chaotic. And in the men she attracts or she's into, you will see similar displays of these traits. So you will see, I mean, at the worst, of course, it will be abusers, murderers, serial killers. If women are attracted to those kind of men, they are pretty much caught up in their own demon animus, because these men are reflecting their own inner masculinity. Anyhow, so on a less extreme level, it also goes into things like men that just mistreat her on several levels. Men that are wild, they don't want to be tamed, you know. That's the kind of energy you will find at the first level. Hence, especially young women tend to be caught up in this. You couldn't say it's a bit of a maturation levels as well. Hence, many young women are here when they start out. But you can even see older women being caught up in this. But essentially, in order to overcome this first level, you need to tame yourself, you need to become more mature. Also, I have to say, unfortunately, a lot of abused people reside in this level. They are abused, they abuse themselves or they abuse others. There's a lot of toxic energy going on, which is often due to trauma in some sense. So in order to overcome this, you need to overcome your own traumas, you need to become more aware, more mature, less naive, because a lot of naivete can also be a bit on a demonic side almost. You will attract a lot of demonic people, unfortunately. So you have to become more mature, more emotionally controlled, all of these things in order to advance to the next stage. By the way, it is possible to fluctuate between the stages or levels, or to be in between, to go back and forth, etc. This is not entirely static, at least in my observation. So the next level is what I call the prince. So in a lot of fiction, you know, when people are attracted to the demon, you know, it's like the demonic guy. When it's the next levels, I mean, the best manifestation of that is the Disney prince, right? So it's the idealization of fame, status, riches, which is basically summarized as the prince. And here it's at least much more romantic than the previous one. Actually, this stage, I would say Dracula can be kind of oscillating between these 2 stages, because Dracula is a demon vampire, but Dracula tends to also be more romantic and be rich and more gentleman-like. So it's a bit of an in-between. Also, Edward Cullen from Twilight is kind of in between these 2, because he's also rich and handsome and etc, and also well-mannered usually. And in the modern dating life, you know, when women are overly career obsessed, both in themselves and also other people. So if it's all about just career, what kind of career does the guy have? Also wanting to go up the career ladder, or being overly obsessed with money and becoming rich. And then the kinds of guys you will attract will be in that same kind of sphere. But the thing is, with this stage, usually there's a lot of selfishness. I mean, obviously the demon is selfish, but it's very obvious that the demon is selfish in their instinctual desires especially. But with the prince, it's a bit more subdued. So it's a bit less in your face. And the prince might even come across as being very charitable on the surface, but inherently deep down they're still quite selfish. And in the guys you will attract at this level, at the worst, you know, these are the guys who scam others, etc. But it can also go to the demon. At the best, I mean, these guys are just kind of overly obsessed with their work, overly busy. They don't have much time for you. They don't want to make time for you. They are just overly obsessed with themselves and whatever is going on in their own lives. And they don't have much time for you. And yeah. Or they might be very superficial and only care about superficial traits. So maybe they only care about looks or other superficial traits. So yeah, this is what can happen at this stage. You will have some nice moments here and there, a bit more romantic moments, but they will be overshadowed by this very selfish element and superficiality on some level. And in order to overcome that, once again, you have to become more mature. You have to realize it's not just superficial things that matter. Also like things like height and things like that. The thing is, of course, you want to learn also from every level and every stage, and perhaps you need to go from one to the next in a succession. However, I think the demonic stage, if you had a good upbringing, you usually don't have that experience, I think. So I think if you had a good upbringing and if you were not traumatized, then usually you actually start out at the prince level. But if you had a bad upbringing or some other trauma, you will start out here. Anyway, so it's common to be here. A lot of women are at this stage. So especially in your 30s, 40s, a lot of women are here. It's very common, especially nowadays. Yeah, you have to be more mature. You have to realize these superficial traits don't truly matter as much. I mean, they can matter, right? You still need to be attracted to your partner. But yeah, you don't want to focus too much on superficialities. If you need help with this in your own dating life, leveling up yourself and the kinds of men you attract and just feeling more fulfilled in your life based on your personality, then check out my services on typevolution.com/services. Make sure to get type by me, get type coaching by me, so we can go through this together, one-on-one. So the next stage is what I call the night. Basically, you enter the realm of devotion. So I'd say I would personally put a bit of a line in between these two. This is more average or lower functioning, you could say, and this is higher functioning. This is more special and it takes more effort to get to these levels. The night, the kind of men you attract when you are at this third level of Animus, these men are more devoted to you. They commit to you clearly. There's no doubt about their level of commitment. These men are devoted to being good men, basically. So they're devoted to some kind of higher cause or some kind of morality, some moral code. Basically, as it's exemplified by the knight. You also can go into like courtly love, but not all courtly love is actually courtly love or actually knightly. Like the romanticization of it goes into knight territory. This is the guy who takes care of their woman in some way, provides for her, protects her. And as a woman, if you are at the knight level, it's similar. You have gotten out of the selfishness for the most part. By the way, with selfish women at this stage, they want to be treated like princesses. They want to be spoiled all the time. They are very spoiled often. Either they want to be spoiled or they spoil themselves too much. At the knight level, as a woman, if that's your animus, you start wanting to devote yourself to a higher cause as well. You put yourself, I don't want to say second per se, but there's something more important than you that you are going for. Good mothers can be at this stage, or women who just pursue something more meaningful, purposeful, right? I'm a purposeful typologist, by the way, personality typologist. So purpose is important to me, and this is just something I noticed with the Knight. It's really crucial at this stage that you pursue something more meaningful, higher than yourself, something higher than just wanting to be rich or wanting to be attractive or having a partner who's like that. At the next stage, so this is the ultimate one, which I call the Martyr-God, which might sound a bit weird, but the Martyr-God. Oh, by the way, before I forget, the Knight. If you've seen the recent Frankenstein movie, which is also like a bit of a gothic romance, even though the Frankenstein creature, the creature in that movie, on the surface seems to be a demon, at least in terms of, you know, the fact that he is made out of dead bodies and he's kind of, it's a bit disgusting, right? How he came to be. But the creature, I would say, actually resides somewhere in this sphere, like in the Night sphere probably. Without going too much into the details of the movie, the girl, she actually is supposed to get married to a more prince-like character. It's very much for status and riches and what's socially acceptable, etc. But she feels drawn to the creature because the creature has some kind of purity in him. And this is what I mean with like the higher ideal. Some people might even argue he's sometimes even oscillating between this and the Martyr-God. So what is the Martyr-God? The most stereotypical example that I also gave in my article is Jesus, right? I personally don't believe in Christianity. I'm not a Christian. However, Jesus is a very powerful symbol of the highest level of masculinity or the highest level of the animus. Now, not every man is supposed to be exactly like Jesus, in my opinion, because Jesus was probably also a certain kind of personality type. A lot of people think he was INFJ or ENFJ or INFP, whatever. One of the F types at the very least, right? Not every man is an F type or should aspire to be like an F type. But essentially the Martyr-God exalts the devotion on the Knight's level. It goes so far, the men at this stage, they would die for you, or they would die for a higher cause, something noble. Now I have to say though, at this point, not a lot of, but there are men out there who believe that they are, you know, dying for a higher cause, but what they're actually doing is demonic. So the demon is always destructive, and oftentimes the demonic stage is kind of disguised as one of these. So someone might seem as if they're, you know, killing themselves or dying for a higher cause, but if the cause is twisted, dark, evil, then they're not at this stage, okay? Then they're not really martyr gods. But yeah, the martyr god, you sacrifice something in order to create. This is basically what it means. And once again, when I go back to the mother archetype, or like the motherhood, right? So you could say, oh, in order to be at this level as a woman, you have to have children. Now, perhaps for a lot of women, this might be the case, but not always, because actually a lot of mothers I've seen, unfortunately, end up at the prince level max, where basically where their children are extensions of themselves and they're trying to make their children attain status in order to feel better about themselves, right? So this is where it's back to the prince stage. Martyr-God is also very, I'd say, very detached on some level from worldly issues, but at the same time embracing them wholeheartedly. For example, if you're a parent, you fully embrace whoever your child is, and you just want them to do great in the world, but in favor of the world, like to actually make the world a better place. So this would be where it goes into the knight and martyr god territory, where you are personally detached from the outcome of, oh, they have to be full of status and that has to reflect on me as a good parent. Like this selfishness goes away, this ego, I guess, goes away. And yeah, with the men in your life, these men, once again, they are very devoted to you. Once again, it's very similar to the knight, also in terms of commitment, etc. But yeah, they really would give their all for you and for the relationship. They really go above and beyond. It feels like you can overcome mountains. It feels like you're just on a higher level. Like, what can I say? This is a very, very, very rare stage, okay? Most people in this world are not at this level, and it's very difficult to reach this level. So I'd say you should maybe not expect this from everyone around you. If you are able as a woman to achieve this, that's awesome, but it's very rare to meet someone like this. As a woman, I still think that you cannot ever sacrifice totally. So this is where there's like the line between animus and actual masculinity and being a man. You should never sacrifice yourself entirely. It goes against what femininity is about. If you want to go like the biological route, it's okay, the woman, if she would sacrifice herself, then her baby would also not survive, right? So on the very biological level, you could say this is what femininity is, but whatever. That's one way to explain it. Either way, you cannot sacrifice yourself totally. This is, if you sacrifice yourself totally for somebody, this can go back into the demonic stage. You should not have to do that. Like, don't think, oh, I'm giving my all to a man or to a relationship or to certain people and I'm not getting it back, and oh, I'm a Martyr-God. No. You could be actually at one of these stages and thinking you are at this stage. As a woman, you are also transcending yourself on some level. You're transcending your own earthly desires and needs, whilst also fulfilling them at the same time. So you are both creating and sacrificing, but you cannot ever sacrifice yourself totally, because otherwise it would be out of the creation game. So yeah, it can be children, but it can also be anything you do. It can be devoting yourself to anything higher. It can be an ethos. It can be a line of thought. It can be, it could be a business, right? So not every business is automatically prince level and like a bad thing or whatever. So you have to find your own way of accomplishing that. But once again, this is very, very difficult. So if you find yourself at least on these levels, you've made it, so to speak. Like, if you're at the knight level, that's awesome, okay? Let me know if you have any questions about this or any comments or concerns in the comments. Okay, I see you next video. Have a good day. Bye.